Hey guys, Scott here. Today we're going to talk about maps. Maps are probably the biggest factor into who's going to win a match, which is, I think, pretty silly. And that's why map offerings used to be the most ridiculously overpowered thing in the game, because you could just always guarantee you would go to a map that would very, very significantly benefit your side, to the point where it was almost a free win. If you were a nurse and, burned a Midwich offering, you were never going to lose. If you were a survivor and you burned like Badham or something, you're probably not going to lose. Like, it was way too much power was controlled by the players having map offerings, and that's because maps are just such a big determining factor in who's going to win. Now, I'm not saying skill's not involved. I'm not saying the killer is not involved as well. Obviously, those things are a very important piece, and killers interact with certain maps in different ways, so it's not like a real black and white thing. The point is, I think there's too much emphasis on maps dictating how a match is going to go. Very often, you could be playing a killer, load into a map, and go, I lose. And that's just a really, really bad feeling. So I want to include some maps here that I think are just unfair, but also some maps that are just not good and I think just need changes. And we're going to start with Forgotten Refuge, which this shouldn't even be a map. We've been over this many, many times. This actually wasn't even supposed to be a map. They were like testing a new Walking Dead tile to sometimes generate on other maps. And they were like, this is not they specifically said it wasn't a new realm. And then when they shipped the Walking Dead chapter, they're like, oh, wait, it's a new realm. Look, there's the new tile. Ignore the rest of the map is just nothing. Just generated rocks and nothing and 3 gens. That's all it is. I don't know what the hell this abomination is, but I think no one would care if they just deleted this from the game and kept it as just a tile like they said they were going to do. I think they were upset that they didn't have a map, so they tried to pretend that this was a new map, but this is not a new map. They just threw in random generation bullshit with one actual new tile, and they just, for some reason, just pissed all over it with the filter. It just hurts my eyes to look at. It's an eyesore. It's just incredibly lazy. That's my biggest problem with this map, is it's lazy as hell. It's got a bunch of those double god loops that I absolutely hate, but at the same time, it's got disgusting 3 gens that the killer can hold forever. So no one likes this shit. Just remove it. I don't even have feedback to make it better. Just remove it. It shouldn't be a map. Next, maybe a bit more controversial. I hate Midwich. I don't like this map at all. In fact, it's one of my highest loss rates. I don't know why. I just, for some reason, as killer, I just can never seem to do well on this map, even though it's really not that bad. Like, the room per room looping is just not really that bad. It's just something about this map annoys me. And I would say on the survivor side, the thing that pisses me off is A, the map is just bugged, and sometimes pallets just don't spawn when they should be spawning. But B, the way that the map is laid out makes finding generators just really, really annoying. And now, usually that's a problem you would hear from newer players. You wouldn't think someone that's been playing this game for almost 10 years now saying, I can't find generators, but it's true. I legitimately can't find them very quickly. I mean, you can eventually find them by checking every known spawn, but the point is, a lot of the reason that the kill rate is so high on this map overall across all MMRs is because finding generators is just actually pretty hard on this map, and there's no indicator of where gens are. I've had people say sometimes the lights are blinking outside of rooms with gens, but this is not true. There's no pattern with it whatsoever. I went through this map and looked and checked with rooms that had gens and no gens. Some lights are on, some lights are off, with no pattern whatsoever. The weird part is almost every other indoor map has these things. Like, the game has indicators, Larry's has blinking lights, even Hawkins has closed doors where the generators are. There are ways to tell where generators are on the map through walls and stuff like that. On Midwich, there's just nothing. You just have no way of knowing, so you have to individually search every single room, and you kind of don't have a plan, which ends up over the course of the match just wasting a lot of time. Additionally, on the killer side, it's incredibly boring, because if you're not a killer that's got mobility and you see someone on the other end of a hallway, you might as well just ignore them. You're never going to get them. They're 40 seconds away from you, because you're just going to do this around the entire fucking school for 20 minutes. It's just so boring. So much holding W. But then once you're done holding W, the loops inside the rooms are not particularly strong. So then it leans way more into the killer side. So it's like, you just hold W for 40 seconds and you're bored, and then you get to a room and the survivor can't do anything. That's just not fun design. I fucking hate Midwich. I just wish they would remove it, but I know some people like it. But one of the things I would actually do to this map is punch a hole in the outside courtyard to give another entry point to both sides. That way it's not just you're just running around. At least you can try to cut somebody off or something like that. Obviously, survivors would still be able to hold a check spot of the halfway point, but at least it would be less holding forward or something like that. I don't know. This map is just boring. Every time I play it, I'm never having fun. Speaking of even more boring is the game. This map, surprisingly, balance-wise, is not that terrible, because it's just solely based on pallets. There's barely any windows on this map. So once the pallets are gone, there's literally no resources for the survivors to use whatsoever. However, the problem is if the killer is not good at breaking pallets or good at exerting pressure, so survivors have to drop pallets early, there are typically so many pallets you can't win before the game is over. So you end up in that scenario. But most of the pallets on this map, there's a couple like this one and the one ahead of me that are not necessarily god pallets, but most of the pallets on this map are just god. You just have to kick it, and so there's no gameplay on either side. Survivor runs to a pallet, drops it, killer walks to the pallet, kicks it. Do that 20 more times, and then if there's still gens left, killer probably wins because now there's nothing left. If there are no gens left, the killer loses. Like, that's just it. That's the whole fucking map. Then it has the room of safety, probably the safest area in any area in DBD. Basically, you only get downs here if people just greed pallets like that, but it has 2 pallets upstairs that are pretty much god pallets. Then it has 2 pallets downstairs that are also god pallets, which connect into 2 rooms that also have god pallets. There's basically 6 god pallets within like a 12-meter radius of you in that room. It's just once someone goes there, you're just like, okay, you've already accepted you're never going to down that person until you start whittling it down over time. Break a pallet, leave a chase, go do something else, come back, break one more. Like, you have to like do it piecemeal like that, or you can't just do an actual chase and end the chase there. The point is this map has no interactive gameplay on most of the pallets. Again, there's like 2 or 3 that are like you can actually do stuff with. But for the most part, it's just go to god pallet, drop god pallet, killer kicks god pallet. If the game is over, killer loses, otherwise killer wins. It's just the epitome of boring design. I don't even care about it balance-wise. It's just boring. Next, we have Nostromo. I grew to really hate this map due to the whole map density thing, which is finally fixed. This map was like every 4 maps you'd be on Nostromo. I have learned to really hate this map, and it's funny, this probably is unanimously one of the most disliked maps in the entire game. It's extremely big, so if you're a killer without mobility, it takes like 50 seconds to just get to the other side of the map. This is probably the worst gates in history on the killer side. You basically just have to 50-50 it, unless you can just straight up teleport. And the loops themselves are not particularly great for Survivor. The collision on all of these things is just absolutely horrendous. If you're playing any type of killer that has any type of like power that requires the hitbox, you're always just going to have shit like this, where you're just hitting the air and it becomes incredibly frustrating, and it's like pretty fucking bad. Like, half the loops in this game are just that. It's just like the collision extends nowhere near the wall you're actually hitting. So the collision is bad. The map is absolutely massive. The gates are terrible. The loops aren't even particularly good. So once the killer's actually chasing you, you're likely just going to go down. It's just, it's weird. I'm much better at specifically explaining why I hate every other map, but it's really hard for me to describe why I dislike this map so much. Like, I've listed a couple of reasons, but I really hate this map. And I haven't given enough of a description of, like, it doesn't match how much I hate it, but for some reason I just hate it. So maybe someone in the comments can tell me what I'm not like putting into words, but this is legit one of the most universally hated maps in the entire game, and I think this is a good reason for that. Finally, Badham Preschool. If you thought it was going to be anything other than Badham Preschool, I mean, you must not know that I play mostly killer, but this map has been an abomination for 8 years now. It is basically old Haddonfield, which was known to be terrible, so they reworked it, but it's just the same thing. This has just been it's been worse than Haddonfield for its entire existence. This map has everything wrong with map design. We have breakable walls that must be broken to continue chasing. In the 2-story building here, you have to kick these walls to chase a survivor. You cannot win chases ever if you leave these walls up, unless you're like Nurse or someone that can just ignore existence in general. The shack almost always has a loop connected right outside of it, at least one. Usually there's 2 or 3, a car and like a little junk loop right here. We just got good RNG for me here, and there wasn't a pallet there, but there's usually 2 or 3 pallets right outside of shack. Then we've got this building. I guess they're all the House of Pain. Let's be real. This building, which has an absolute god pallet and usually has a really good window coming up top. And then we usually have a Haddonfield fence connected to this as well. And all of these things just chained together. That's the problem. So much of this shit just chains together, just giant fences. And then we haven't even talked about the main building. The main building has the god fence, and then it has 2 god pallets downstairs. If you down somebody downstairs and the basement didn't spawn downstairs, you just can't hook them, or you have to break one of the breakable walls to be able to hook them. But then if you make a breakable wall, you make it infinite, so you can't fucking do that. The whole map is just a nightmare. I hate this map. Now, as Survivor, paradoxically, I love this map. It's great because I feel like I'm really good at Survivor all of a sudden. It's because this fucking bullshit. This is, I think, the most killer-sided map, or I'm sorry, the most Survivor-sided map in the entire game, and it has been like that since it came out. It has never not been the most Survivor-sided map in the entire game. Just every area has something good. There are no dead zones in Badham Preschool. There is always something extremely useful to use no matter what. And that's, I think, the main issue with it. No matter where you are, it's always a bad chase to take. I've said this so many times because I've brought up Badham Preschool in probably 10 videos by now, but the fact that it's consistently still the map that is the worst in the entire game for me really should explain how shit this map is. And oh my god, there used to be 5 of them. There used to be even more. Actually, honorary mention, Badham Preschool 2 was the worst map in the game, but they removed it. And it's still Badham Preschool, so I still get to say Badham Preschool is the worst. But Badham Preschool 2 was basically this, but on crack. It was like Shack, but instead of 2 or 3 pallets, there was like 6 pallets outside of it. It was just unbelievable. But yeah, Badham Preschool, still my least favorite map in the entire game. I really, really wish they would just... I'm just being a whiny killer maid at this point. I wish they would just fucking nerf this map. It's just too strong for Survivor. It is. I don't know. I know I sound whiny, but I don't care. That's it. Those are the 5 maps I would like to see change the most, at least now. There are definitely maps that are probably not as balanced, and there are other maps that have issues, but these are just my personal 5. It's not like an objective list or anything. But thanks for watching. See you next time.